Greetings, Stash Wyslouch here. I am currently accepting online students via Zoom. Please send me an email if you'd like to sign up for a lesson package. Today's quick tip, we're getting a little weird, a little exploratory. I want to explore finding chord substitutions for melodies we know and love using the triads on the G, B, E string set, and then seeing if we can insert that knowledge into, for example, a guitar arrangement or a break of a tune we know and love. Reharmonization is one of the great tools for making variations on melody. One of our principal methods for improvising or playing in the context of bluegrass, for example. To get the most out of this video, you should be comfortable with the major and minor triads on the G, B, E string set. I go in depth on these on quick tips number 6 and 10. Make sure to review those. Those are exclusively available to my patrons on Patreon. If you're not already, please consider subscribing to my Patreon. It's a great way to support the making of these lesson videos. You get access to exclusive Patreon workshops, supplemental materials to all these quick tips, and of course, access to all 50 plus quick tips. Another lesson that would be helpful to review is quick tip number 27, where we talk about harmonizing melodies with triads. Major and minor triads comprise of a 1, 3, and 5, or a 1, flat 3, and 5, respectively. C major, C, E, G, 1, 3, 5. C minor, C, E flat, G, 1, minor 3, 5. In folk, bluegrass, and related music, we could boil down the practice of harmonizing a melody note as follows. We could say that a melody note will almost always be the 1, 3, or 5 of a given chord. The 3 could be a minor third or a major third. What do I mean by that? You sing the note B. You play the chord of G. It works. It sounds good. It sounds consonant. It sounds obvious. Why? Because B is the third, the major third of the chord G. But if we zoom out a bit, forget about the fact that B is part of many different keys, we could say that B could also be the 1 of a major or minor chord. It could be the 5th of a major or minor chord. Or it could be the minor third along with the major third we already established of a different chord. All that to say, there's 6 options for chords using just this basic fact that a melody note can be a 1, 3, or 5 of a given chord. So, let's take the note B, for example. What are the 6 chords available? B is the 1 of what major chord? A B major. B is the 1 of what minor chord? A B minor. 2 harmonization options. B is the major third of what chord? A G major. B is the minor third of what chord? A G sharp minor. B is the 5th of what major chord? An E major. B is the 5th of what minor chord? E minor. Cool. There are 6 options that we could harmonize the note B if it occurs in a melody. Now I want to take another step and integrate our triad knowledge on the G, B, E string set into what we just discussed. Remember, if we play a 3-note voicing, for example, on the G, B, E string set, the note that attracts the listener's ear the most is the top note. So for example, I play an E minor triad on frets 9, 8, and 7 on the top 3 strings, the G, B, E string set. The note that attracts my ear, and what I think most listeners' ears, will be the top note. So we could call the top note of a voicing the melody note. It sounds like the B, in this case, fortified with an E minor triad. Good. So in this way, we can render melodies with fortified triads, just like we've done in a few quick tips before, including quick tip number 27, which would be a good review of everything we're doing right now. So now what I want to do is take a Stanley Brothers tune, If That's the Way You Feel. Learn the melody exclusively on the high E string. And then I want to take each note that occurs in that melody, that I would render in a guitar solo, for example, and fortify it with a certain triad. And remember, for each note, we have 6 options of chords to choose from. Here's the melody of the song. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I don't blame you, for I know you want him, that your love for me was never real. I could hold you, but you'd be unhappy. It's alright if that's the way you feel. Awesome. That's the melody, which I've listed here on our chart. Now the usual chords go like this. I don't blame you, for I know you want him, that your love for me was never real. I could hold you, but you'd be unhappy. But it's alright if that's the way you feel. But now I want to get a little adventurous. If you notice, this melody only has 5 notes: G, A, B, C, and D. So in terms of workflow, I could be really pragmatic and list all 6 chord options for each of those 5 notes. So G, for example, has 6 options: G major, G minor, E flat major, E minor, C major, C minor. Now, remember, this is a bit of an adventurous quick tip. In theory, this tune is in G, but we are saying that now all constraints of key are let go, because as long as a melody note is harmonized with a 1, 3, or 5 of whatever chord, it's going to sound consonant and make sense in some universe, as long as you can suspend disbelief for a little bit with me. I go through, and for example, the first note is a G. Great, and I'll make a choice. In this case, I'll keep it simple. I'll say that that melody note G will take on the G major chord. Cool, makes sense. Now, in order to incorporate my triad knowledge, I have to solve the following riddle. Which G major triad on the G, B, E string set has the melody note G on top? The answer is a first inversion triad. Cool. Write that down, make note of it somehow, we move on. The next melody note is an A. Look at our 6 options. Good. Make a choice. Now, when I'm just working on this creatively by myself, I take my time. I experiment with all the different options. Oh, what does it sound like when I go G to D minor? Oh, interesting. G to A minor. Interesting. G to D major. Oh, I like that. So I picked that. For the note A, I've assigned a D major triad. How do I apply the G, B, E string set knowledge from the triads? Which D major triad has an A on top? The answer is a root inversion. So we have I don't. And now I'll start going a little outside the box. We land on the note B. I've decided to harmonize it with the chord B major in this case. So which B major triad on the GBE string set has a B note on top? So we have I don't blame. Then for the word you, it's another B, and this time I've changed the chord back to a G. Again, solve for B. Which G triad has a B on top? A second inversion. So we have I don't blame you. Wow, this starts to sound really interesting. I went through and did that for the whole melody. The first and third lines of this melody are exactly the same, so I kept the same harmonization pattern for them. The second and fourth, I changed them around a bit. Here's what I came up with. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, very interesting. What do we make of all this? Well, for one, it sounds a little strange. Yes. But maybe it gives us some new creative options. Even if you only found one of those chord substitutions that you like and wouldn't have found otherwise, this whole exercise, in my opinion, is worth it. A further comment on this. With any of these outside-the-box reinterpretations of melodies, there's generally 3 ways that you can look at it. Imagine you go to the local bluegrass jam and they're playing If That's the Way You Feel, and you start throwing E flat and B major chords on a tune in the key of G. It's going to sound a little strange. So the choice to do these things, you'd be going in contrast to the band. That's one way of looking at this. You're presenting a contrasting harmony that would almost imply different keys being played at the same time. That produces a certain feeling, a certain thing. You as the interpreter, as the composer, can make these kind of choices in the moment. Now let's say you're in a more prepared, rehearsed situation. You could make these kind of decisions together with the group. So for example, the bass player could follow some of your reharmonizations within the context of playing this tune. And it could be a pre-planned thing. I don't blame you for I know you want him. That's the second way to look at it. To do these things parallel to the background that you're playing in. And then the third way is to do a little combination of both. For example, when you reharmonize in the context of this tune, the G melody note with an E minor triad, you actually still have 2 of the 3 notes of the G major triad. So it just kind of sounds like a little bit of a colorful triad. I don't blame you for I know you want him, that your love for me was never real. So I'd call that a kind of combination of doing something in contrast but also together with what's going on. Being able to toggle between these is a skill that you develop the more you experiment with these kind of things. You be the judge. Thank you so much for listening to this quick tip. I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I hope you become a patron on my Patreon page. And I hope to see you very soon. Goodbye.